Distress call from the stars. The last rays of Astralis Prime's twin suns cast an ethereal purple glow across the crystal spires of Harmony City as Commander Ilara Voss watched her homeworld burn. From the bridge of the Celestial Messenger, the sleek diplomatic vessel that had become their salvation, she could see the dark silhouettes of harvester ships circling the planet like vultures over a carcass. "Power reserves at 16%, Commander," reported Navigator Thelion, his translucent fingers trembling slightly as they glided over the holographic controls. "We've barely enough for life support and minimal communications." Ilara nodded, her luminescent eyes reflecting the devastation below. The Astralis Confederation, once celebrated throughout known space for their advancements in biotechnology and peaceful philosophies, now faced extinction. 3 sister worlds had already fallen to the harvesters, massive biomechanical entities that consumed all organic and mineral resources from planets, leaving nothing but lifeless husks. "How many evacuation ships made it past the blockade?" she asked. Science Officer Malus consulted her display. 47 confirmed, Commander. Most heading toward Galactic Council space." She hesitated. "The Council has sent condolences and promises to debate emergency aid at their next assembly, which is 3 standard cycles away," Ilara said bitterly. "Our homeworld will be nothing but dust by then." Elder Jorith, the oldest among the small crew, moved to Ilara's side. His once bright skin had faded to a pale blue with age, but his eyes remained sharp. "The Council fears involvement. The harvesters have never encountered meaningful resistance. What will you do, Commander?" Ilara turned from the viewport, her decision already made. "We're going to break protocol." A heavy silence fell across the bridge. Everyone knew what she meant. "The quarantine system," Thelion whispered. "Commander, the Council specifically forbade." "The Council abandoned us," Ilara interrupted. "They've left us to die while they debate. We need help now." She moved to the central console and entered her command codes. A star map materialized before them, focusing on a yellow star in an unremarkable spiral arm of the galaxy. "Sol System," she said, "designated as a Class 5 death world by Council explorers 127 cycles ago." Elder Jorith's eyes widened. "The humans, they're savages, Commander. Their history is stained with warfare and destruction. The isolation barrier was established for a reason." "Their history is stained with warfare," Ilara agreed, "because they evolved on a world that tried to kill them at every turn. Extreme gravity, atmospheric toxins, temperature variations that would kill any of us in hours. They didn't just survive. They thrived." She brought up the biological scans from the original Council expedition. The bipedal creatures appeared unimpressive at first glance. No natural armor, no enhanced sensory organs, physically weaker than many species. But the data told a different story. They can withstand radiation levels that would kill us instantly. Their bones can break and heal stronger than before. Their bodies host trillions of microorganisms in symbiosis. They can digest substances that would poison most species, and they can survive catastrophic blood loss that would mean instant death for us. Ilara looked around at her crew. "They call these weaknesses. We call them miracles." "Even if the legends are true," Malus said skeptically, "why would they help us? We're nothing to them." Ilara smiled faintly. "Because that's the paradox of humans. Their world made them violent, yes, but it also made them protective. The expedition records note how they shield the vulnerable members of their own species, even at risk to themselves. They form bonds with other creatures on their planet. They mourn their dead and celebrate birth. They're capable of both terrible violence and profound compassion." "The isolation barrier prevents all signals," Thelion reminded her. "Not all signals," Ilara replied. "The barrier was designed to keep them in, not to keep us out. A powerful enough broadcast on the right frequency would penetrate it." Elder Jorith sighed heavily. "The Council will exile us all for this." "I can live with exile," Ilara said firmly. I cannot live with watching our people perish when I could have done something. One by one, the crew nodded their agreement. They had nothing left to lose. Hours later, the celestial messenger hung in the void at the edge of Astralis territory. Ilara sat at the communication station, carefully loading the language matrix compiled from the original expedition data. When everything was ready, she looked up at her crew. "This will drain our remaining power," she warned. "We'll have enough for basic life support and minimal maneuvering, but not much else." Elder Jorith, who had been her most vocal opponent, now gave a solemn nod. "Do it, Commander. Let's see if Deathworlders are as fearsome as the stories claim." Ilara pressed her palm against the broadcast panel and spoke clearly, knowing her words would be translated into the main human language. "To the inhabitants of Sol System, this is Commander Ilara Voss of the Astralis Confederation. Our worlds are under attack by entities we call the Harvesters. They consume all life and resources, leaving nothing behind. We have no weapons to stop them. We have no warriors to fight them. If you can hear us, if you have the means to travel beyond your system, we desperately need your help. These coordinates will lead you to our location. Please, we are running out of time." The ship hummed and vibrated as power flowed into the communications array. A bright pulse of energy shot from the vessel, aimed directly at the distant yellow star. As the broadcast finished, the lights on the bridge dimmed to emergency levels. "Now we wait," Ilara said softly, staring into the darkness of space. Admiral Helena Chen stood at the command center of the UES Thermopylae, watching as the holographic display showed the ongoing training exercises. 12 warships of varying classes moved in complex formations, their simulated weapons firing at phantom targets. Earth hung like a blue-green jewel in the background. At 53, Chen had spent over 30 years in the United Earth Defense Force. The small scar that ran along her left cheek was a reminder of the Martian conflict, when human colonists had briefly rebelled against Earth authority. It had been humanity's only real taste of war in the past century, a minor skirmish by historical standards. Most of her career had been spent preparing for a first contact that never came. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Ramirez from the communications station. "We're receiving an unusual signal. It's not one of ours." The bridge fell silent. Chen turned, her expression betraying nothing of the sudden rush of adrenaline she felt. "Source: unknown, sir. It appears to be coming from outside the solar system." Chen moved to the station with measured steps. "Play it." A voice filled the bridge, speaking English with a strange, musical quality. As the message played, Chen's face remained impassive, but her mind raced through protocols established decades ago for this very moment. When the transmission ended, Captain Capri, her tactical officer, broke the silence. "Could be a trap, sir." "Could be," Chen agreed. "Or it could be exactly what it sounds like, a desperate call for help." "The coordinates are approximately 20 light-years away," reported the navigation officer. "With the new Alcubierre drives, we could reach them in under 5 days." Chen nodded. She had already made her decision, but procedure demanded consultation. "Opinions. We should inform Earth Command before proceeding," suggested Commander Rodriguez, her executive officer. "This is a first contact situation. The diplomatic course should take point. By the time the diplomats finish their first briefing, these aliens could be extinct," countered Lieutenant Ramirez. "They said they're under attack." "We don't know them," Chatri said pragmatically. "We don't owe them anything." Chen listened to the brief debate, then raised her hand. "Humanity has wondered for centuries if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not, and the first thing another species does is ask for our help." She paused, looking at each officer in turn. "I won't be the human who heard that call and did nothing." She straightened her uniform jacket. "Send a message to Earth Command informing them of the situation and our response. Tell them Battle Group Leonidas will investigate the coordinates provided in the alien transmission." Rodriguez's eyes widened. "Sir, with respect, we should wait for orders." "I'm not taking the entire fleet," Commander, just Leonidas. The rest will remain to protect Earth. Chen looked at Ramirez. Lieutenant, can you send a reply to the alien vessel? Yes, sir. The signal contains a communication protocol we can use. Do it. Tell them. Chen considered her words carefully. Tell them help is coming. The next hours were a blur of activity as the 5 ships of Battle Group Leonidas, the Thermopylae, the Spartacus, the Valiant, the Defiant, and the Swift, prepared for departure. Supplies were loaded, weapons systems checked, and the experimental long-range drive systems prepared for their first real test. Chen addressed the crews via ship-wide communication. Men and women of Battle Group Leonidas, today humanity takes its first step beyond our solar system. We go not as conquerors or explorers, but as responders to a call for help. We don't know what awaits us. We don't know if we will find friends or enemies beyond those who have reached out to us. But we go prepared for either. She paused, looking at the camera that broadcast her image throughout the 5 vessels. 300 years ago, humanity looked to the stars and wondered if we were alone. Today, we have our answer, and our response will show what kind of species we truly are. Prepare for departure. 6 hours after receiving the alien message, Battle Group Leonidas activated their drive systems. 5 flashes of light marked their departure from the solar system, the first human vessels to venture into interstellar space. On the Thermopylae's bridge, Chen watched the familiar planets of the solar system vanish from the view screens as the ships accelerated beyond light speed. The stars blurred and stretched, their light distorted by the bubble of warped space surrounding the vessels. Drive systems functioning within normal parameters, reported the engineering officer. Estimated arrival at the coordinates in 4 days, 17 hours. Chen nodded. Maintain battle readiness. All crew to operate on regular rotation. We don't know what we're flying into, so I want everyone rested and prepared. As the others carried out her orders, Chen returned to the viewport. The view now was strange. Not the normal starfield of space, but a distorted tunnel of light created by the drive system. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago, but had never used it beyond test flights within the solar system. There had been nowhere to go. Now they had a destination, and perhaps, Chen thought, a purpose beyond the endless preparation for a first contact that had never come. Sir, Ramirez called from her station. I've been analyzing the alien message. The translation was good, but there are some interesting patterns in the original transmission. Chen joined her at the communications console. What kind of patterns? Their language structure suggests a species with different thought processes from humans, more cooperative, less hierarchical, and there are emotional markers that our computers identified. Fear, certainly, but also hope. Whoever these Astralis are, they're putting a lot of faith in us. Chen considered this. Let's make sure that faith isn't misplaced. For 3 days, the ships of Battle Group Leonidas hurtled through space toward the unknown. The crews trained, prepared, and speculated endlessly about what they might find. On the 4th day, as they approached the coordinates, Chen ordered the ships to drop out of FTL travel. The distorted view from the viewports resolved back into a normal starfield. And there, hanging against the blackness of space, was a small, sleek vessel unlike any human design. Its hull was curved and iridescent, with no visible weapons. It looked more like a work of art than a spaceship. Life signs? Chen asked. Confirmed, said the science officer, but they're weak. Their power systems appear to be critically low. Chen stood straighter. Open a channel. After a moment, Ramirez nodded. Channel open, sir. Chen spoke clearly, aware that she was the first human voice these aliens would hear directly. This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call. We're here to help. There was a long pause, then a reply came through, a voice thin with exhaustion but filled with wonder. You came. You actually came. The Deathworlders strike back. Commander Ilara Voss had imagined first contact with humans many times during the long wait, picturing sleek, advanced vessels, perhaps similar to those of the Galactic Council. Nothing had prepared her for the reality. The human ships were massive angular constructions of dark metal. Where Astralis vessels had smooth curves and organic lines, these ships had sharp edges and visible weapon systems. They looked built for war, not exploration or diplomacy. "They're hailing us again," Officer Melis said, her voice trembling slightly. Ilara steadied herself. "Put them through." The main screen lit up with an image that made everyone on the bridge gasp. The human Admiral Chen, as she had called herself, looked nothing like the images in the old expedition reports. She was bigger, stronger looking, her skin a different tone, her hair shorter than expected. But it was her eyes that caught Ilara's attention, dark and intense, seeming to look right through the screen. "Commander Voss," the human asked, "I'm Admiral Chen. Your ship appears to be in distress. We're prepared to bring you aboard the Thermopylae, if that's acceptable to you." Ilara realized she had been silent too long. "Yes, Admiral. That would be most welcome. Our power systems are failing. We have 8 crew members." Chen nodded. "We'll send a shuttle. Our gravity and atmosphere may be uncomfortable for you. Is there anything we should adjust?" The question surprised Ilara. She hadn't expected such consideration. "Our standard gravity is approximately 0.7 of Earth normal. Our atmosphere is similar but with higher oxygen content." "Understood. We'll prepare a reception area accordingly." Chen paused. "Commander, I have many questions." "As do I, Admiral," Ilara replied. "But first, my crew needs food and rest, and I must tell you about the threat we face." 20 minutes later, a small human vessel docked with the Celestial Messenger. The human crew wore protective suits, clearly uncertain about compatibility between their biology and that of the Astrali. Navigator Thelion looked at the suited figures with alarm. "They move like predators," he whispered. "Perhaps they are," Ilara said. "That's why we call them." The transfer to the human ship was strange and frightening. The humans moved with a quick, efficient grace that seemed at odds with their solid frames. They helped the weakened Astrali crew into their shuttle with firm but gentle hands. When they reached the human ship, Ilara felt the difference immediately. Even with the reduced gravity in the reception area, her body felt heavy. Her legs trembled with the effort of standing. Admiral Chen was waiting for them along with several other humans. Up close, they were even more imposing. The Admiral stood at Ilara's height, but was twice as dense, her frame solid compared to Ilara's willowy build. "Welcome aboard the Thermopylae," Chen said. "We've prepared quarters for your crew and medical assistance if needed." Ilara swayed slightly under the gravity. A human female, Lieutenant Ramirez, she introduced herself, stepped forward with a supporting arm. "Maybe we should sit," Ramirez suggested, leading Ilara to a nearby table. As they sat, Ilara noticed how effortlessly the humans moved in what was to them reduced gravity. "Your world must be terrifying," she said. Chen's expression changed slightly. What Ilara would later learn was a smile. "We call it home," she said simply. Over the next few hours, as her crew rested, Ilara explained their situation to Chen and her officers. She told them about the Astralic Confederation, a peaceful alliance of worlds known for art, biotechnology, and philosophy. She described the Galactic Council, the governing body that maintained peace among thousands of species across the galaxy. And she told them about the Harvesters. "They appeared 8 months ago at the edge of our territory," she said. "At first, we tried to communicate. The Council sent diplomatic missions. None returned." Chen listened intently. "What do they want?" "Resources. Energy. They strip planets bare, destroying all life. They've already taken 3 Astrali worlds. Our homeworld was under attack when we fled." Captain Katri, the tactical officer, leaned forward. "Their weapons, their defenses." Ilara activated a small device she had brought from her ship, A holographic display appeared, showing the harvester vessels, massive, biomechanical structures with undulating tentacles. Their shields are impenetrable to our weapons. They use some form of energy beam that breaks down matter at the molecular level. They have no interest in taking prisoners or preserving anything they cannot consume. Have you tried fighting back? Chen asked. Ilara looked down. The Astrali have not fought a war in over 800 cycles. We developed technology for healing, for creation, not for destruction. Chen exchanged glances with her officers. There was something in that look that Ilara couldn't read. Show me the star charts, Chen said. Show me where your homeworld is, where the harvesters have attacked, and their likely next targets. Ilara manipulated her device, and the display changed to show a section of the galaxy. We are here, she said, indicating a point of light. My homeworld is here, about 3 days' travel at your ship's speed. These systems have already fallen. These are likely next. Chen studied the display, her face serious. How many civilian ships have evacuated? Not enough, Ilara said softly. The harvesters blockade the major jump points. Only small vessels like ours can slip through. Lieutenant Ramirez spoke up. There could be millions of refugees. Tens of millions, Ilara corrected. But the Council worlds are distant. Many ships won't make it. Chen stood up and walked to a viewport. For a long moment, she looked out at the stars. When she turned back, her expression was resolute. Commander Voss, she said, humanity has prepared for first contact for 3 centuries. We built ships, trained crews, developed weapons, all without knowing if we'd ever meet another species. She gestured around them. This ship was designed to defend Earth. Now it has a different purpose. She returned to the table. I need to contact my government for full authorization, but Battle Group Leonidas will escort you to your homeworld. We'll assess the situation and do what we can to help. Ilara felt a surge of emotion, hope mixed with fear. Admiral, you have 5 ships. The harvesters have dozens. Chen's face hardened. Then we'll need to be smarter than them. Captain Katri, begin tactical planning. Lieutenant Ramirez, prepare communications to Earth with full details of the situation. Request reinforcements. As the officers moved to carry out their orders, Chen turned back to Ilara. There's something you should know about humans, Commander. Throughout our history, we've fought each other over land, resources, ideas. We've caused tremendous suffering. But we've also defended the weak, protected the innocent, and sacrificed ourselves for others. She leaned forward. The reports your people made about Earth were right. We are dangerous, but not to those who ask for our help. For the first time since the harvesters had appeared in Astralis space, Ilara felt something stronger than hope. She felt certainty. Now, Chen said, tell me everything you know about these harvester ships. Every strength, every weakness, no matter how small. If we're going to fight them, we need to know what we're facing. As Ilara began to share what little the Astrali knew about their enemy, she realized a truth that the Council had never understood. The humans' violent history hadn't just made them dangerous. It had prepared them for this moment. While the peaceful species of the galaxy had forgotten how to fight, humanity had been preparing for a war they didn't know was coming. The harvesters had never faced real resistance before. They were about to learn what it meant to face enemies who had been forged on a death world. The journey to Astralis Prime took 3 days. During that time, Battle Group Leonidas prepared for war. Admiral Chen had received authorization from Earth Command, along with warnings to be cautious. But Chen had seen the data Ilara provided. She knew caution alone wouldn't save the Astrali. On the bridge of the Thermopylae, Chen studied the tactical display. The 5 human ships were represented by blue markers. Ahead, surrounding the green dot of Astralis Prime, were dozens of red symbols, harvester vessels. They've positioned their largest ships here, Captain Katri said, pointing to the display. 5 major processor ships and at least 15 support vessels. Chen nodded, and our scans confirm what Commander Voss told us. They're stripping the atmosphere, breaking down the surface. Yes, sir. They're literally consuming the planet. Ilara stood nearby, her slender form supported by a harness that helped her move in the human ship's gravity. The process takes about 12 days for a planet our size, she said. We're on day 9. The major cities are already gone. Lieutenant Ramirez looked up from her console. We're detecting thousands of small ships trying to flee the planet. The harvester vessels are. They're shooting them down, sir. Chen's face hardened. How many larger Astrali vessels made it out before the blockade? According to planetary records, about 200 ships escaped with evacuees, Ilara said. Most headed for the nearest council worlds, but millions remain on the surface. Chen turned to her communications officer. Send a message to all harvester vessels. Inform them that this system is now under the protection of the United Earth Defense Force. Order them to cease hostilities and withdraw immediately. The officer sent the message. The response came quickly, not in words, but in action. 3 harvester vessels broke from the blockade and moved toward the human ships. They're powering weapons, Captain Katri reported. Chen nodded, unsurprised. Battle stations, all ships to combat formation Delta. Hold fire until my command. Throughout the 5 vessels, alarms sounded. Crew members who had trained for years but never faced real combat moved to their positions with practiced efficiency. Admiral, Ilara said, her voice tight with concern, the harvester ships are larger than yours. They're shields. We've studied your data, Commander. Chen interrupted gently. We have a plan. She turned to her tactical officer, Captain Katri. Execute Operation Thunderclap. The human ships spread out in a precise formation. The 3 smaller vessels, Swift, Valiant, and Defiant, positioned themselves around the larger Thermopylae and Spartacus. The approaching harvester ships fired first. Beams of sickly green energy lanced out across space toward the human vessels. The Swift took a direct hit, its shields flaring bright blue under the impact. Swift reports shields at 65%, an officer called out. No hull damage. Chen's eyes never left the tactical display. All ships, commence firing. Target their sensor arrays first. The human vessels opened fire. Unlike the energy weapons of the harvesters, the human ships fired both energy beams and physical projectiles, missiles and railgun rounds that left trails of light as they streaked toward their targets. The first volley hit the lead harvester vessel's shields, causing them to flare but not fail. The second volley, timed precisely, hit the same spots just as the shields were recharging. Direct hit on target 1, Captain Katri announced. Their forward shields are weakening. Chen nodded. Valiant and Swift, concentrate fire on that spot. Spartacus, target their weapon emplacements. On the main view screen, the battle unfolded. The human ships moved with coordinated precision, working together in ways the harvester vessels did not. When one human ship came under heavy fire, another would move to draw attention, allowing the first to recover. Ilara watched in amazement. They've never fought together before, she whispered to Elder Jorith, who had joined her on the bridge. How do they know what to do? Training, Jorith replied, equally awed. The Admiral said they've been preparing for war for centuries. The first harvester vessel lost its sensor array after 12 minutes of concentrated fire. It drifted, still firing, but with reduced accuracy. The second took heavy damage, but managed to retreat back toward the main fleet. The third was more determined. It drove straight toward the Thermopylae, weapons firing continuously. Evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered calmly. The massive human ship turned with surprising agility, but not quickly enough to avoid all damage. The harvester's energy weapons cut through a section of the outer hull. Deck 9 hit, an officer reported. Emergency bulkheads holding. 4 casualties reported. Chen's expression didn't change, but her voice grew harder. Target their propulsion systems. All ships, fire main batteries. The coordinated assault from the 5 human vessels hammered the harvester ship. For a moment, its shields held, then collapsed in a flash of energy. The next volley tore into the unprotected hull. Secondary explosions rippled along its surface before it broke apart completely. A cheer went up from the human crew. Chen silenced it with a raised hand. "This was just the advance force," she said. "The real fight hasn't started yet." She was right. The main harvester fleet was moving now, breaking the blockade around Astralis Prime to deal with this new threat. "Incoming transmission from the largest harvester vessel," Lieutenant Ramirez announced. "Put it through," Chen ordered. The view screen flickered, then showed the interior of the harvester ship. The being that appeared was unlike anything the humans had seen. A mass of writhing tendrils surrounding a central cluster of glowing organs. When it spoke, the translator rendered its words in a flat, emotionless tone. "Unknown vessels, you interfere with resource collection. This world has been claimed. Depart or be consumed." Chen stood straight, facing the screen. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. The world you are attacking belongs to the Astralis Confederation, a peaceful species who have asked for our protection. We order you to withdraw from this system immediately." The harvester's tendrils twisted in what might have been agitation or amusement. "Your vessels are few. Your weapons insufficient. You cannot stop the collection." "We'll see about that," Chen replied, then cut the transmission. She turned to her officers. "They're coming. All ships, prepare for full engagement. Execute Battle Plan Omega." The human ships spread out, taking positions that seemed random but were carefully calculated. As the harvester fleet approached, 12 vessels moving in tight formation, the human ships held their positions. "They're within range," Captain Caftry reported. Chen nodded. "Deploy the EMP warheads." From each human ship, special missiles launched toward the harvester fleet. Before they reached their targets, they detonated, releasing powerful electromagnetic pulses. The harvester's shields flickered but held. "No effect," Caftry said. "Wait for it," Chen replied. 3 seconds later, the human ships fired again. Conventional missiles aimed at precisely the same spots where the EMP had hit the shields. This time, the shields failed momentarily. "Now, all ships, concentrate fire." The human vessels unleashed everything they had. Missiles, energy weapons, and railguns hammered the harvester ships through the gaps in their shields. 2 of the smaller vessels lost power and drifted out of formation. A third exploded in a brilliant flash. But the harvester fleet returned fire. The Valiant took a direct hit that overwhelmed its shields and tore through its hull. Emergency signals flashed on the tactical display. Valiant reports multiple hull breaches. An officer called out. "They're losing power and life support." Chen didn't hesitate. "Order them to abandon ship, swift and defiant to cover, and retrieve escape pods." As the crew of the Valiant evacuated, the battle intensified. The Spartacus moved to protect the smaller ships, taking heavy damage in the process. The Thermopylae engaged the largest harvester vessel directly, the 2 massive ships exchanging devastating fire. Ilara watched, her silver eyes wide with shock and hope. The humans were outnumbered and outgunned, yet they fought with a coordination and determination she had never witnessed. They protected each other, sacrificed for each other, and kept fighting even when damage reports flooded in. After an hour of intense combat, 3 human ships remained operational, and only 7 harvester vessels were still in the fight. But the humans were taking heavy damage. The Thermopylae's shields were failing. Multiple decks were exposed to space. The situation looked grim. Then Chen played her final card. "Deploy the fusion warheads," she ordered. "All ships, execute Maneuver Leonidas." The 3 remaining human vessels suddenly accelerated away from the planet, drawing the harvester ships with them. As they reached a safe distance, each human ship launched a small, unimpressive-looking missile toward the clustered harvester vessels. "All ships, maximum thrust. Get clear of the blast radius." The human vessels surged away as the missiles detonated in the midst of the harvester fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself seemed to ripple as miniature suns bloomed among the alien ships. The blinding light forced everyone to shield their eyes. When it faded, only debris remained where the Harvester fleet had been. On the bridge of the Thermopylae, silence reigned. Then a ragged cheer went up from the exhausted crew. Chen allowed it for a moment before bringing them back to focus. "Damage report," she called out. "Shields offline. Decks 5 through 12 damage. Hull breaches on decks 8 and 9. Contained by emergency force fields. Weapons at 40% capacity. 27 casualties reported. No fatalities." Chen nodded. "Begin rescue operations for the Astralis ships. Deploy all available shuttles. Priority to civilian vessels. And prepare to receive Earth reinforcements. They should be arriving within the next 12 hours. She turned to Ilara, who stood stunned by what she had witnessed. "Your people are safe, Commander. The Harvesters are gone." Ilara struggled to find words. "How?" "Their shields were impenetrable to our weapons." "Not impenetrable," Chen explained. "Just highly adaptive. Once we analyzed their shield frequency patterns, we realized they automatically adjust to counter whatever hits them. That's why your conventional weapons failed. The shields had time to adapt. The EMP disrupted their adaptation cycle just long enough for our second volley to penetrate." Ilara looked at the tactical display, which now showed debris where the Harvester fleet had been. "And those final weapons?" "Fusion warheads," Chen said. "A last resort. We prefer not to use them near inhabited worlds due to the radiation, but at a safe distance." She shrugged. The realization hit Ilara like a physical force. "You knew how to defeat them all along. From the moment you analyzed our data." Chen's expression softened. "We've spent our history fighting each other, Commander. It means we've had a lot of practice thinking about how to overcome superior forces. Sometimes the key isn't having the strongest shield. It's knowing where and when to strike." In the days that followed, more human ships arrived. They helped evacuate the surviving Astralis from the damaged planet, established defensive perimeters around the remaining Astralic colonies, and began planning counteroffensives against the Harvesters. The Galactic Council, shocked by the sudden defeat of an enemy they had deemed unstoppable, hastily voted to lift the quarantine on the Sol system. Diplomatic relations were established, and humanity was invited to join the interstellar community. But it was the smaller moment, 6 weeks after the battle, that Ilara remembered most clearly. She stood with Admiral Chen in the observation deck of the rebuilt Thermopylae, watching as Astralis and human crews worked together to construct a defensive station in orbit around one of the surviving Astralis worlds. "The Council feared you," Ilara said quietly. "They called Earth a death world, and your people too violent for contact." Chen smiled faintly. "They weren't entirely wrong. Earth is harsh by your standards. It shaped us in ways both good and bad." "They didn't understand," Ilara continued. "A species that evolves,